it wasn't long after after I left Texas A&M that the Korean War was going on, and I was ripe for the draft. And so, if they drafted me, I'd go in the Army, and I knew I wasn't going to do that. So I went down, joined the Air Force, and there were four of us joined the Air Force together, all of us buddies, and the son of the doctor that delivered me was one of my buddies. And when we got on the bus to go to Lackland Air Force Base, we hadn't even been sworn into the Air Force yet, and this doctor's wife came up to me and she said, "Forrest, take care of Frank, will you?" I said, "Sure, I'll take care of Frank." So we went to Lackland Air Force Base and they separated us, and I didn't see him for 25 years. But Frank did very well, and the Air Force grew me up. The Air Force just flat grew me up. You got to get a haircut once a week, and I don't care whether you need it or not. And there are things you do and things you don't do. And basic training was terrible. And they sent me to Wichita Falls, Texas, to Shepherd Air Force Base for basic training, and I wasn't really tuned in. And in those days, you had to periodically pull what they call KP, kitchen police, washing dishes, peeling potatoes, and so they could cook meals for 10,000 people. I mean, it's a terrible job. And they were marching a bunch of us from our barracks over there in about 4 o'clock one morning, the first morning, and I was sleepy and disgusted, and we got over there, and you had to walk up about 5 steps to get into the mess hall. But on either side of the steps, it was open. You could get under the mess hall instead of in the mess hall. So everybody walked up into the mess hall, and I walked under the mess hall. And I slept there for 2 or 3 hours. Then finally, I very quietly tried to slip in the mess hall. I knew I was going to be in trouble if I got caught. And this big mean, overrated sergeant came up to me, and he said, "Are you Fern?" I said, "No." I said, "My name's Fenn." He said, "Well, I've been trying to find Fern." I said, "I'm sorry, sir, that's not me. My name's Fenn." He had mispronounced my name, so I ducked that bullet. And I'd have been on KP for the rest of my life if he had caught me on that one. But I remember one time they put me on guard duty, walking a post around the commander's house. And I had one of these big old wool coats, and it was a dead of winter and bitterly cold. And I had a big heavy coat on, weighed about 25 pounds. And 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, it was dark, no lights any place, but I could barely see the street that I was supposed to go down here and turn and go down there and come back up here. And I closed my eyes and I said, I estimated how many steps from here to the corner. And I was going to count the steps and then open my eyes to see how accurate I was. Well, I went sound asleep. I was walking sound asleep, and finally, about 2 blocks later, I tripped over a curb and fell on the grass, just as a air policeman drove up in the truck. Want to know what I was doing? I told him that I didn't know where I was. I mean, I didn't know where I was when I was walking, but when I went to sleep and a couple of blocks later and fell down, I sure didn't know where I was. And these guys were sympathetic, I mean, I didn't know anything, and they know I didn't know anything. How can you punish a guy that doesn't know anything? And so, that's the way it was for. Then they sent me to Biloxi, Mississippi, to radar mechanic school, the night shift, 6 o'clock to midnight for 9 months. And it was terrible. I had no aptitude for that kind of thing. I don't know. They told me I had an aptitude for avionics, electronics, So that's where I was, and I didn't know, I couldn't tell you a volt from an ohm. But I graduated, and then they sent me got on a train to Greenville, South Carolina with one of the guys that I had joined the Air Force with, Sammy Myers. And we stayed there for working on airplanes, flying as a radio operator on a C-119, C-47, C-46s, T-11s, and that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. The work was easy, and I didn't know what I was doing still, but I could tune a radio. I know how to do that, and but I got bored, and I wasn't doing anything that was worthwhile. So, and I had a sergeant that I worked for that I didn't like. I think not so much I didn't like him, just that I was fed up, So I went down to personnel and asked them what I could do to get out of here. And they gave me a bunch of forms to fill out. I could go to jump school. I could go to pilot training. I could go to 8 or 10 other things. And I said, well, so I signed up for all of them. And I told them, I said, I'll take the first one. First person who wants me, here I come.